Hi, this is Champlet2 on the PlayStation Network. This series of videos will show all of the preps, setups, and finales of Act 1, 2, and 3 of the Doomsday Heist. After doing this heist a few times, I've noticed how difficult it is to follow the storyline while shooting and trying to stay alive, so that's what inspired me to make these videos, to allow you to watch it, almost like a movie. I'll make every effort not to talk over the heist story dialogue so you can hear what the story is all about. I'll offer some basic information about the heist missions, but this will not be a tips and tricks video for the Doomsday Heist. This video includes the first 3 setups from Act 3, the Doomsday Scenario, and you can skip ahead to a specific prep mission using the times in the video description if you'd like. There's also a playlist on my channel, so you can watch all of the preps, setups, and the finale of Act 3 all together, as well as Act 1 and Act 2. The first setup mission for Act 3, the Doomsday Scenario, is Setup, Rescue Agent 14.
Somebody film that?
Let's go buy ourselves an agent. Get back to the shipyard and make this deal go right. Well, I know rescuing Agent Annoying is pretty far down the list of things any of us wants to do right now, but Mrs. Rackman here says we have to if we want to get paid. I'm certainly not doing this for a thank you and a handshake, so let's get him. This place is pretty dark, so you've got some goggles in your packs. Latest imaging technology. Merriweather took 14 with the express intention of selling him to Hertz. They've got long-standing business ties, but after much negotiating, we were able to hijack the sale. He does not come cheap. When I started doing this, you could buy an agent back for 2 good goats and a kilo of opium tar. Now it's 100 pounds of $100 bills. Well, that's the tech boom asset bubble for you. Yeah, first it's $1 million apartments in San Fierro shitholes. Then your coffee costs $4 a cup. Your bus stop's got a Wi-Fi connected smart coach in it for corporate use only. Oh, and you've got to pay $5 million or your IAA pal gets his head cut off. Maybe now you guys will do something about the broken economy, huh? $4 for a coffee? You're going to the wrong place. I know, and I hate myself for it, but I think I'm in love with their barista.
Well, that was certainly not some of my best driving. We'll start out with just a couple of basic tips about setups in general. First of all, in setup missions, you cannot use your CEO vehicles. They're not available to you. You can do setup missions in an invite-only room or a closed friend session. We usually prefer to do that because they spawn back in much faster in those. If you start it in a public session, when you're done, it will spawn you back into a random public session, maybe not the same one that you left in the first place. And it seems like the spawn times are much longer when you're doing it in a public session.
Whoa. Alarming chatter on the network. They're gonna double-cross us. Just start shooting from the get-go. This deal went wrong before it started. Get my agent out alive, people!
Just for a couple of basic tips about this particular setup mission, if you've watched my video on the preps, oops, sorry, my friend said something and I got distracted and turned the wrong way. Anyway, if you've watched my video on the preps, you may have seen the one where you had to go down to the Merriweather shipyard and take photographs. This is the setup mission that prep was for. So that's where we're going. There are a lot of guys in there, and there's a couple of characters that we haven't seen yet up to this point, referred to as juggernauts. And they're basically, if you've done the thing in the gun running where you have that big heavy suit, I can't remember the name of it offhand, and the big minigun, that's who these guys are. They're vicious, but they're also like invisible except for their heat signature. We've done this one, I guess you would call it, on foot a few times, and even on normal, this is not a walk in the park. It's pretty hard. So we just thought we'd try something a little different this time. So I'm driving down here in my Kuruma, and my friend also had his Kuruma selected as his personal vehicle. So when we get down here, we're going to stop and pull over, and he'll request his personal car, and then we'll go in together in our Kurumas.
Studying the prep photos, I found an old security cam I could patch into. Okay, I can put the guys on your radar.
We found a couple of cool places to park our Kurumas so we could use them later, and they proved to be quite handy. For the handful of times that we've done this mission, this is the best we had ever done it. The Kurumas were great.
Okay, now this is a bit of an experiment, but I think I can triangulate the signatures from the prep photos and bring up a scan of the place. Putting the guys on your radar now.
So we just stopped there, and my friend ordered his car, and I actually cut a little bit of that out to save some time. No, his car did not come that fast. And off we go. Our plan is to take one Kuruma into the dry dock and leave the other one out here at the front close to the entrance.
They got 14 at the end of the dry dock. Go get him.
And when we're done clearing out the inside, we'll leave his Kuruma at the south entrance. So we'll have one on each side of the building.
Deal with Merryweather. Do you know what that agent's worth to them?
So as I'm jumping into the back seat here of my friend's car, take a look at the second container on the left. There's an armor in there, and there might be something else too, but I do see either, I think that's a sticky bomb. I don't think that's a proximity. So those might come in handy, especially if you're doing this on foot. There are quite a few guys in here, even in normal difficulty. And this is just the first round. You gotta be careful here. Now see that blue container I'm pointing at there? That's Agent 14 that's just on the left side of that. He's kind of ducked down. There he is. So he's the one we're here to get. So we're just staying safe in the Kuruma and taking these guys out one at a time. And granted, it does take a lot more bullets when you're shooting from inside the car, because these are obviously not the most powerful weapons that you can use from the car. But hey, it's either more bullets or use your armor. Okay, so we've got almost everybody cleaned out here. We have to go get this last guy. My friend's just trying to turn around here. We have to go get this last guy before we'll get the message that it's okay to go pick up Agent 14.
Get some of this!
Just trying to figure out where we left this guy. Oh yeah, he's over here on the side by the steps.
Okay, Merryweather are down. We've stopped them from selling the agent. Go to Agent 14.
Okay, my friend's gonna drive around a little bit and park this at the south entrance so we can use it shortly after we pick up Agent 14. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the action that's coming up so I don't talk over the dialogue while it's running. We're gonna go pick up Agent 14, and as soon as we do, those really vicious Juggernaut guys are gonna show up at the north entrance. And right after the cutscene with Agent 14, they spawn you out uncovered, so you got to take cover really quick. These guys are usually really vicious. For some reason, this particular time, the North guys weren't so bad. You'll see what I mean. The South guys are a lot uglier this time.
Thank God you got here before Avon's people. Now let's go!
I'm seeing some strange activity to the north of you. Take cover, quick! Okay, just hack something together. Sending an update to your goggles. System installed. You got new functionality. Oh boy, here we go.
So if you use your right arrow and turn on the goggles, you'll be able to see these guys even though they're invisible. There's the uncovered.
I don't like the feel of this.
Avon's army is in the building and outside it too. Look out! I heard rumors they were working on this. Switch to the thermals.
Here's what I meant earlier. They're not.
See those heat signatures? Those are the juggernauts. They've got super suits fitted with stealth tech. They're invisible. You'll only be able to see their heat.
They're just not shooting at us that much, which they usually are. I don't know what's wrong here. You'll see when we get these other guys. Hold on.
Everyone okay? That's good news. The bad news is there are more of them on the way. Eyes, goggles south. They're almost there. They might be invisible, but Avon's guys are blipped on your radar now. Thank you, Lester Crest.
Yeah, see what I mean? These guys are shooting us much more fiercely than the first batch did. They're usually consistent. They're usually both remarkably vicious. My friend's got a little bit better position for these guys than I do. They will tear right through you.
Okay. South entrance. Choppers inbound. Don't let them get to my agent. Hertz is throwing everything at this. With respect, Hertz has got your entire fucking security apparatus at his disposal. He's got a lot to fucking throw. I take your point.
So now we're taking out these guys coming down. These are all Avon's guys.
We might have a way to get you out. Sending you an evac point. Get my agent there alive.
We moving? Let's move.
So this is where we were going to jump in. The Kuruma, I'm going to try to get to mine here. And as you move along, Agent 14 will come with you.
Punch through, all right? Keep moving.
So this is similar to how we did it on foot without a car.
Hustling.
With all these choppers in the sky, our guy managed to fly in undetected. Get over to him. Clear and move.
This was part of the reason I decided to stay on foot. Whoops, that's my fireworks launcher. It's because I knew we were going to have this helicopter to deal with. But he kind of ducked behind the building there. Ooh, somebody's getting me. That guy. Okay. Alright, so as soon as I get a little armor on, I'm going to jump back up here and get ready for that helicopter. I just don't know why the homing missiles don't seem nearly as accurate as they used to be. There we go. And you'll notice the little blue circle, Agent 14 is just kind of hanging out with me. And as soon as I clear this out a little bit, I'm going to try to work my way over to my Kuruma that we left at the front of the building. And my friend is trying to give me a little shield to get there with his Kuruma, clearing the way for me. And Agent 14's moving up with me. Sometimes if you're doing this on foot,
Don't worry, I'm cool. I run ultra marathons.
that was him.
Extraction is on the other side of the building. My agent better be breathing when you get there.
When you're doing this on foot, he has a bad habit of getting right in the space where you wanted to take cover, so that can be a little bit annoying. So you'll see now we both have our Kurumas, and we're just going through these guys a little bit at a time. And in a minute we're going to get some more of those juggernauts.
Yeah,
The helicopter we're trying to get to is on the other side of that building I'm aiming at. So we have to work our way through all of this first.
I'm coming!
I was worried we were kind of leaving Agent 14 behind, but he's catching up. So we have to come through here, and now we have to sort of go into that white building.
Super soldiers, look out! Look for their heat signatures.
These juggernauts, the super soldiers that Lester was just talking about, I think they're at the south side of this building that I'm aiming at. We have some regular guys in there. I'm trying to deal with them first. And I believe we'll find the juggernauts to the left once we get in here. So this was the point where having the Kuruma, as soon as I find this other little guy here, he's hiding from me, having the Kuruma really came in handy. You just have to be careful though, these juggernauts have some pretty vicious miniguns, and they can blow up your Kuruma. He was shooting me from the side, so he didn't hurt me. You know, didn't like blow up the engine or anything. So you can see there, I'm taking quite a beating from these guys, and it's not hurting me at all. There they are. If you don't put on your goggles, you can see the firing of their miniguns to figure out where they're coming from, but the goggles help a lot. So my friend said just be careful. They can shoot right in the front particularly, or maybe from the back of your Kuruma, and it will explode. Now there's going to be a part here in a minute that's really funny. Agent 14 got in with me, but I didn't know it was him.
You might not be able to see them, but they are there. Don't put the chopper at risk. Clear Avon's guys before you get there. The pilots have ditched the chopper, so you're flying yourselves. I can't have any more of my people in danger there.
I need an energy bomb.
So that's the helicopter we're coming for, but you can see we've got these juggernaut guys again that are to the south here. There's, I think that's Agent 14. No, there's Agent 14. He climbed in my car, but I didn't know it was him, so I see a guy in there with a gun, and he looks like he's shooting at me, and I had no idea who that was. So I ended up turning off my goggles and looking inside and going, oh, that's him. Okay. I was just surprised he hadn't gotten in the car before that, so I was surprised when he did. To my friend's earlier point, I've been trying to keep my car behind something like these little barriers so they can't shoot in it and explode the engine, and that seemed to work pretty well. This is just the best we ever did this mission. Doing it with the Kurumas, it was certainly the easiest we ever did it. Doing it on foot is quite a bit more challenging.
Taking the shot!
Just get the thing and go. You've cleared enough of them down there. Now bring my agent to the drop. That's an Akula stealth heli. Your tail should lose track of you pretty soon.
So there we go. So we had, what, 3 groups, I think? 1, 2, 3 of the juggernauts? Was it 3 or 4? It was 4. So we dealt with them, and the Kurumas certainly came in handy for that. Now, as we're leaving, you see that little purple square on the mini-map. You have to stay within that purple square on your way out.
Whoa! We out of there? We safe? Obviously not quite yet, but almost. Man, that was intense. You feeling jacked? I'm definitely jacked. Major endorphins. Hey, for a bunch of no-good murdering bank robbers, you sure are good at doing the right thing. We're not so different when it all comes down to it. Ambitious, results-driven, sociopathic tendencies. It was not nice getting caught. I do the same run every morning, only this morning, I was drugged and in an upright spinner bag before my pulse hit 80. I should have changed my routine. Too predictable. Or maybe just stop posting running times to social media. But what's the point in running if no one knows about it? What's happened while I've been gone? Is Avon Hertz president? Is this Clifford AI powering the internet? Hey, don't worry. Rackman will debrief me in full. I know the bombs haven't dropped. That's good enough. Gotta stop that son of a very bad mother.
Okay, maybe Lester's right. Maybe he is Agent Annoying. The little blue, or excuse me, the little purple square on the mini-map is not like a zone, it's an altitude. So if you get outside of that purple square, you're too high up and enemies can lock onto you. And I'm going to skip ahead just a tiny bit to get this done. Here we are arriving at the drop-off.
Okay, you're almost home. We managed to avoid agent casualties so far. That's what you're paying for.
That's all there is to this setup mission. Well, I guess that's enough. We just land him here. Don't shoot the little blue circles. And after we're done here, once this is completed, the host will get a little message from Lester.
Be good, okay?
You're welcome, Agent. Okay. So that's passed, and here comes the little message from Lester to the host.
So Avon is running his own little private army now of cyborgs or something? It's definitely unethical. But who would expect a tech company to have a code of ethics or care about employee rights, huh? I still can't believe Avon had me fooled. Oh, do better, Lester! Trust less! A blood feud revenge killing might be the only thing that gets me out of this funk. So help me out here.
The next setup in Act 3 is Setup, Escort, ULP. You can do the preps and setups in each act in pretty much any order you want, as long as the required prep is completed before you do each setup.
Your ballistic missile launcher is in Paleto Bay, so head over there. Or just find a nice dark hole to lie down in and cry till this is all over. As much as we trust you fine people, they don't. We thought it better if our agents guarded the Chernobog at a location they could defend, the construction yard. We're providing a second vehicle for you to use as an escort to the missile launcher, and Agent ULP has been advised to start the escape procedure. ULP was the agent we rescued from the Foundry and delivered to Avon, so really, we weren't rescuing him before, we were capturing him. Now we know better, so... And hey, you know, bright side, we get paid for rescuing him twice. Mrs. Rackman needs all her agents in the line to get funding for this thing, so we're gonna give them to her. Let's get the agent and get our money.
ULP to Rackman. 2 hostiles down, and I have the chopper.
We'll have our team on the ground.
Same team that got me into this? Okay.
My crew and I have been doing this setup with the help of a vigilante instead of primarily relying on the Chernobog. In order to use the ballistic missiles in the Chernobog, you have to have 2 people in the vehicle, and you have to stop it in order to shoot them. You can't shoot it while it's on the move. Whereas the vigilante has a remarkably accurate homing missile. And so what we did is we've had 2 different vigilantes at our disposal, and I'll show you how we've been switching them. Now, in just a second here, I'm going to skip ahead, and this is going to miraculously change from a black vigilante to a red one. That's because I'm using footage from 2 different times that we did this. We're going to arrive here in my red vigilante, and my friend's going to take this to back me up in the Chernobog.
They must be monitoring your channels. Your men at the construction site are under attack. That's Avon's security team. Hey, defend those vehicles. Wow, is that Avon's kill team? They look kind of funny. It's like if Knife Road had an army. I can't tell if you're in a nightmare or a marketing campaign. Avon's
we started this setup in my friend's Black Vigilante. Unfortunately, I think he lost internet connection for just a second in the middle of that mission. So I kept the first part that had the dialogue, and then here's the second part where we had to restart it. But what we're doing is using one Vigilante and using all the missiles in it, and then when that runs out, he can request his personal vehicle and it'll have full missiles again. And when that one runs out, I can request my personal vehicle and it'll have full missiles again. So this makes a wonderful backup vehicle to the Chernobog.
All clear, all clear. Wow, I'm glad you chose a spot your men could look after. You're gonna want to take the missile launcher over to the intercept point and wait for their guy, ULP, to make his run.
If you had more than 2 players, you could put a couple in the Chernobog. They have the little ramp buggies there, and you're supposed to use those to clear the road.
Take it off. Let's hope I can still fly these things.
Now we're going to head over to the meet site where we're going to catch up with Agent ULP. And if you are going to use the Chernobog as a missile launcher, you do need a passenger. The driver can't just easily switch over to the passenger side. The driver would have to stop the Chernobog completely and then raise up the missile launcher for the passenger to use it. So that's why it's not really, plus it's not a very fast vehicle. So it's not the easiest one to do this with. I will show you a little footage shortly of how you would do it with the Chernobog.
Whenever it gets frustrating, just think of the money. Oh, the money is good. And if you need to blow off some steam, turn over a few liquor stores before you go to bed tonight.
That's one of Lester's funnier lines. I get a kick out of that one. So we're going to come here and meet up with ULP. He's in a little Havoc, I believe.
I've got a tail, all right. Multiple choppers behind me.
Missile's ready. Here he comes, from over the water.
We should be seeing him straight ahead here.
Okay, he's coming by. The plan is shoot everything except our guy.
Okay, I see you.
So we're just going to follow Agent ULP and protect him and ourselves from all of these helicopters and cars ahead.
ULP is heading for a safe house. You stay on his tail. Engage the threats. The Chernobog only fires when stationary. I told you that, right? Everyone knows how to work a mobile ballistic missile launcher.
Even if you do have a passenger with you to fire the missile launcher, it doesn't aim very high, so it's hard to get these helicopters that are right above you. And even in the Vigilante, that's a little bit of a challenge, but it does do a good job.
Look out, they've got roadblocks up.
So this is a really long trip. I'm going to cut a whole bunch of the travel time and just let you hear the dialogue.
Bad as this is, it's better than where I've come from. You know how annoying it is to be interrogated for days, weeks maybe, by a guy who thinks he's a genius for inventing job interview software? Do you know how much more annoying it is getting interrogated by the actual job interview software? Clifford, Jesus. If it's gotta be an inanimate object, I'll take a flashlight every day of the week.
My friend switched to his Vigilante, and now we're skipping ahead.
Reinforcements on the way. Take them down as quick as you can.
He really doesn't want to let me go. More helicopters inbound.
More ground troops. Keep them away from the Chernobog if you want to protect that heli. Believe me, you want to protect that heli. You see one of Hertz's choppers? You shoot it. You've got everything you need to do this, right?
You give me some breathing room.
So Sorry y'all, that was a little choppy there. I just wanted to get you ahead because it's a slow trip in this Chernobog. So here we're still dealing with helicopters and cars, and just shortly I'm going to switch over to different footage where I was driving a vigilante and my friends were driving the Chernobog, and I'll let you see a little bit of how they were actually using the missiles in the Chernobog to defend against the cars and the helicopters, just so you can see a little bit of how it's actually meant to be done. And if you hit cars in this Chernobog and hit them at the right angle, they'll explode, but that does damage the truck after a while. There's also a meter down there at the bottom right that lets you know the health of Agent ULP. If that's getting low, ultimately you could fail. There's one. I blew that car up when I hit it. And they're shooting me a little bit, but not too bad. So up here shortly when we get to Sandy Shores is when I'm going to switch to other footage. One just ran into me and blew up.
The safe house is inland from there. Keep following. Watch your six.
Okay. So currently I'm driving the Chernobog and my friend is in my Vigilante. And now my friend is driving the Chernobog and I'm in his Vigilante. This is from another instance when we did this same setup. So you can see them up ahead of me. There's with the missile launcher up. And we've got another friend who's in the passenger seat doing the shooting. There were 3 of us on this one. I just wanted you to have a little bit of what it looks like with the Chernobog in action. You do have to stop it, and the whole vehicle like raises up when you do that, and then it goes back down a little bit.
If that chopper goes down, so does our paycheck. Stick with him.
Now we're back to the original footage where I'm driving the Chernobog and my friend's defending me in either his or my Vigilante, depending on which one's not out of missiles. And you can see there, he's doing a really great job. He can shoot almost straight up as soon as it targets it. And there's the ULP agent up ahead of us in the Havoc. Here shortly he's going to say we're close enough to the drop-off point that the helicopters are going to leave us alone.
They're dropping off the radar. The voice on the radio saying, pull back. I think I might be in the clear.
Then land that aircraft and go to your safe house, Agent. Well done.
Yes, ma'am.
Avon Hertz's men will be out looking for him. So Agent ULP is off the grid until we have closure here. It's up to us to stop him now. It's always up to us to stop someone. Okay then, see you soon. Stay safe, Bernard.
Bernard.
That's about all there is for us to do in this setup mission. We're just going to follow ULP to the final drop-off, or meet point, I should say, where he's going to land, and it's right here on this little cul-de-sac. And when this mission is complete, the host will get another little phone call from Lester.
We are kicking ass, taking down Avon's carefully organized plans and taking some big dumps on the wreckage. Ha ha! Avon's off the grid, gone into hiding. If we keep chipping away at his network, he will make a mistake, and we will find him. We will! I feel it! Oh, sweet, sweet revenge.
The next setup in Act 3 is Setup Barrage. My crew and I have been having a lot of fun doing this one with our vigilantes again, much like a few others we've been doing, and you'll see why here in just a moment. All we have to do is get to the observatory, and then there's quite a bit of dialogue on the way, so I'll just let you listen to that.
Go to the observatory. That briefcase you collected arms shipment for Avon, a Barrage weaponized ATV. It's about to be flown in over the city. You're gonna intercept it at the observatory, take out its escort convoy, and get it for our use.
Hello, peoples. We run war game simulate situation many times in Russia. Always. Evil computer gets weapon, and then kills all carbon-based intelligent life. This Barrage SUV heavily weaponized. You make very quickly into evil robot kill car. Bombs, they killed a big group of human. Cars get the human in little hard-to-reach places. Hunt and kill everyone you know and love. Not fun.
That's, quite a picture.
Not pretty, not nice. Contemporary art. Weak existence.
No, well, thank you, Mr. Wagner. No one wants Clifford running a fleet of kill cars with 50 cal miniguns and rear grenade launchers. It'd be like a rideshare app for wholesale slaughter and devastation. But we especially don't, because we're being paid to stop him. And we might be able to use it later, or sell it to someone a little less, genocidal. Okay, it's gonna take some firepower to bring down a heavily armed helicopter convoy. We've given you Mark II sniper rifles with explosive rounds. You've got some massive stopping power, all right. So, you know, be careful where you aim them. The Barrage is suspended from a twin-rotor heavy lift chopper. Think about where you bring it down. You'll need to get in there to collect. We'll speak when you reach the observatory. Well, I'll speak.
Well, as you can see, one of the fun parts of taking the Vigilante is just the drive getting there. And since I wasn't gonna trip skip, I wanted to make sure you heard all the dialogue. We had quite a good time with our Vigilantes. But here, you'll see when we arrive at the observatory was the main reason we brought them. We've got a lot of aircraft coming in, some helicopters and such, and the Vigilantes do a very nice job of taking them out. And I'm just waiting for my friend to come over here to the meat spot, and I'm checking to see if I've got missiles, and oh, I do.
Right, you're there. Keep your eyes on the horizon. The convoy's on its way. The more you damage that heavy lift chopper, the harder it'll be for it to maintain altitude. So shoot it enough, and our ATV will ease down to the ground with minimal damage. That's the plan, at least. The arms dealers are on the way to Avon. We can't let them make that delivery. Hey, eyes up. Should be passing overhead. Remember, you have those explosive sniper rounds. Okay. You've got a fight on your hands with some angry weapons manufacturers. Almost there. Concentrate fire on the twin rotor. It's losing altitude. Take those arms dealers out. Oh, God, I hate people in sales. Boom! Chopper down. Now grab that vehicle and get the hell out of there.
You have Barrage. Take to Sandy Shores Airfield. We used to crush the Avon army, save world from robots.
You have 2 mounted guns on the Barrage. Let's show Avon what he's missing, huh? Okay. You've taken out the arms dealers, you've got the ATV. Word has got to Avon. Oh, and he is pissed. He's got his people on the way.
So certainly my friend could have ridden with me in the Barrage and did a lot of shooting from here, but it's not really heavily armored. You're kind of very exposed in this, so he was safer going in the Vigilante and taking out the enemies on the road, and I just stayed up here on the hills to avoid them all.
They've sent choppers to intercept us. Use one of the turrets. Blast them out of the sky. There's more coming. Watch out. That's an ATV, right? All-terrain vehicle?
So you can see I'm taking Lester's advice driving off-road, and that gives me a little protection from all of the bad guys. But now that I'm back on the road, here they come. There's very little protection in this barrage, and you kind of get lit up. Instead of making you watch us drive the rest of the way there, I'm going to skip ahead and we'll get to the next point where there's dialogue.
Airfield is of high strategic importance to Clifford master plan. We take hold. If Clifford want airfield, we want airfield. He not let us win easy. Avon army will attack. Be on the outlook.
You heard the man. Take the runway. Avon's storing vehicles and supplies on the airfield. They've all got to go.
Okay, I'm waiting here just a second. You might be able to see up the road there. I think my friend was driving my Vigilante and it ran out of missiles, so he just picked up his, and now he's got lots. So we're going to head on over here to the Sandy Shores airfield, where there's a very large plane that has to be blown up before it takes off, and then quite a few enemies. And theoretically you're supposed to do this in the barrage, but like I mentioned earlier, there's very little protection or armor of any kind on this vehicle, so you get shot up quick. We've just been doing it with the Vigilante, and what I'm going to do now that I'm far enough away from where my friend left my car is I'll pull up here to the runway and request my car, which refills the missiles in the Vigilante. I'm trying to take some shots at the helicopter there from the barrage, and I'm just using my own handgun, but my friend took care of him. So now that my Vigilante's here, I'm going to pull up here closer to the hangar and help my friend. So I think he might be just about ready to run out of missiles, if I recall. Can't remember if you get 20 or 25 or 30 in the Vigilante. I think it's 30, but I can't remember.
The runway's clear. Keep it up. Don't leave him with anything. Okay, we have the airfield. Oh, the IAA better pay us for this. Take the barrage to the safe house and don't let him slow you down. Move and shoot. Get out of there. Get to the safe house!
I'll grab the barrage and then I'm going to skip a little of the travel.
You're almost home. Just get past those guys and you're there. Blow them up or blow on by. Come on!
Well, that guy's about the last one of the enemies. So all we have to do is get up here and return this barrage to the drop-off point.
Okay. Avon wanted that ATV and he wanted that airfield. This is a big win for us.
No time to celebrate. Maybe you know what's coming a couple of days later than before. A few. Many more work to do.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the rest of my Doomsday Heist story series of videos, including part 2 of the Act 3 setups. And there are lots of other videos on my channel you may also find helpful. A like for the video and a subscription to my channel would be greatly appreciated. Go forth and save Los Santos from Doomsday.